Hi everybody, welcome back to Beyond The Noticeboard. I'm Stephanie Akerman. I'm a Parish Councillor, a community volunteer, a charity chair and founder of Savvy Business Management, and I'm based here in Upper Tean, which is part of Chepley Parish in the Staffordshire Moorlands. So if you're new to my podcast, this is where we look at the real work that keeps our villages running, not the shiny events or the bits that make the local newsletters, but the proper everyday stuff that's usually getting missed. So it's things like your roads, your drains, your footpaths, and then all those battles that we're quietly fighting behind the scenes, where we're trying to keep the community safe, trying to keep them connected. So before we get stuck in today's topic, if you haven't listened to the first two episodes yet, they're definitely worth a listen. So in episode 1, we talked about the flooding, the sewage and the storm overflows and the impact that they've had on our local River Tean. And then in episode 2, we carried on from there, where we were looking at the Nature in Your Neighbourhood project. And we were looking at how communities like ours are stepping up to protect the green spaces. So today I'm switching the focus slightly. I'm still sticking with the real world issues, but I'm getting right into what it's like to deal with the roads, the drains, all the infrastructure headaches, and what it's like as a local parish councillor, because honestly it's not glamorous, but it's important, everything that we're doing. So for those who don't know me well yet, I've been a parish councillor now for 10 years, and I've just finished 2 consecutive years as chair of Chepley Parish Council. So when I first got involved, I imagined council work would mainly be the meetings and the big plans about the future, but what I've quickly learned is that like 90% of the real work, it's about all the little things. So the blocked drains, the broken pavements, the potholes everywhere on the roads, all the overgrown hedges that are making all our footpaths unsafe. So it's not all about the headline grabbing stuff, it's not ribbon cutting stuff, and it's often quite slow and it's quite frustrating, but it's all the stuff that makes a village livable or unbearable, because if you can't safely walk down a public footpath, or if your streets are flooding every time it rains, or the pavement outside your house is a trip hazard, it's going to affect your day-to-day life in a big way. And that's one of the reasons why I care so much about it, because I keep pushing and we keep pushing and chasing and reporting, and even when it feels like we're banging our heads against the brick wall, because the small ones, they're hidden victories and they really do matter. So one of the most common things residents ask me is, who's actually responsible for what? And honestly, it's a fair question, because it's not very simple. You've got your roads, your pavements and footways, which are mostly managed by Staffordshire County Council highways. If you've got a blocked drain, that's also the county, unless it's something like your sewer overflow, and then it'd be Severn Trent Water. If you've got a overgrown hedge and it's spilling out from the private land, then it's the landowner's responsibility. And then if it is from public land, that'll be the county again. So streetlights, they're mostly county's responsibility. Although sometimes on your newer estates you'll find management companies that will be responsible for the maintenance, or like Chepley Parish Council, we actually have some streetlights that we're responsible for. And sometimes trying to track down who's responsible for what is a bit of an adventure all on its own, really. So then there's us, there's Chepley Parish Council. I mean, a lot of people assume that the Parish Council can fix a lot of things directly, but truth is, we can't. We don't have the budget, we don't have the manpower, and we don't even have the legal authority to go out and fix highway problems. So what we do is we tend to report a lot of problems, we'll escalate them, we'll start lobbying for action, and then we'll push for improvements on behalf of the community. So it's like a constant juggling act between knowing who's responsible, chasing all the right people, and then explaining to residents why something hasn't been fixed yet, even though you've been chasing it for months. And sometimes we even have to double check where responsibility lies, because the system's that complicated. So I want to talk about reporting problems, because this is where it gets quite interesting, really. So Staffordshire County Council's got an online reporting form and the My Staff's app. And in theory, it's brilliant. You can log a fault, you upload a photo, and it gets logged against a map that appears on your screen, and you select on the map, and you can track its progress through the app. But in my experience, in reality, it can be quite fiddly, it can be slow, and It's really frustrating because I'll be trying to report a problem, and normally I'll be standing on a footpath, I'll have my phone, and if it's in the rain, then, I could have the umbrella in the other, or if I'm out walking the dog, I'm holding the dog as well. I'm trying to zoom in on the little map, trying to find where those points are. It's a test of patience, really, because it's not the most user-friendly. Now, you can do batch reporting, which helps a bit, but it still seems a bit clunky. And one of my issues is I tend to log several in one go, so I'll do several on one stretch of road. But what I'll tend to find is when I go into Zoom on that app to try and report an area, report a drain that's blocked, you have to really, really zoom in to find that drain. And so when I'm doing several along one stretch of road, when you're zooming in, because of how far you have to zoom in, you can't tell if you're on the right mark on the map to report. So you just end up misreporting because it's not a clear enough system, really. It isn't clear enough, and it's a real pain in the backside. And then with the right to wait issues, that's a completely different reporting portal. So you can't even do the right to wait issues through the report it like I do for all the others. And so then I have to log it into a completely different system and go through a different process. And then it's just, you have to sign up, you have to be a member, you have to have an account to be able to log in. And honestly, it's no wonder that a lot of the residents are either giving up or just messaging others to report it, because honestly, half the time I think, how are people supposed to report things easily if the very system that's meant to help them is putting so much hurdles in the way? It's really not good at all. So back in February and March this year, that was a proper test. We'd obviously got some rain that was battering the Staffordshire moorlands. We've got blocked drains everywhere, and obviously the footpaths get submerged and the roads flood. And so before a flood, like we discussed in one of my previous, I always go out and I go and check a load of drains, but it's been getting quite a lot for me to do with the amount of drains that now need checking each time before a flood. So I did put a post across social media. I'd asked if anybody was able to safely clear the drains outside their homes, because it would really help. And the response was brilliant. I did also then put in at the same time that I would report blocks drains for anybody who couldn't manage it themselves. So I just said, if you put me an image in the comments and let me know the location, I can log that report. Because if I'm struggling with the app, then others are going to struggle with the app. And why should 7 people have to struggle if just one can do it in a batch report? So I just logged them all together when I received all the reports in. But just the community going out of the way, the response I had, it just shows the community spirit that we've got in Upper Tean and in the wider parish. And that's why we call it Planet Team, because it is pretty much its own planet. It's not like anywhere else. So obviously all those reports I was getting, and it was a lot of reporting, and it's just the reporting app's just so awkward and so slow, and trying to match everything up and it's just frustrating when you're trying to do the right thing, but it shouldn't feel like you're being tested. And I know it's not just me feeling this way either, because after chatting with the parish clerk and a few of my fellow councillors, it's been quite clear that they've been having the same frustrations with the reporting system and the same difficulties when it's come to logging different faults. So when people like us are logging faults pretty much every week and we're struggling to use it easily, there's obviously something wrong with that reporting app. There's got to be. Because I shouldn't have to zoom in several times just to report a blocked drain, and I shouldn't be having to second guess whether I'm clicking the right grid square or not. It should be rather simple. It should be straightforward, because honestly, it puts people off reporting things, and then that just means that more problems are piling up before they'll even get noticed by anybody. Because it's relying on us, the public, to be able to report all of the problems so that they can go out and check them and put them in their scale of whether it needs doing urgently or not urgently. So really, the reporting system should be a lot simpler. It should be more straightforward. I mean, I don't even think you should have to have an account. You shouldn't have to set up an account to log a report, because that doesn't really encourage people to report, does it? But amongst all of that, the frustration we've got going on, March was like, there was a really lovely thing, and I'd had a lovely thing from a resident that said that, and this reminds me why I love doing what I'm doing and why I love being part of the community. So I had, everybody recognises me everywhere I walk, so I can't leave the house where I don't get stopped by somebody. But I was just walking back from the high street, and a person had stopped me and spoke to me and said that they'd noticed on one of our estates, one of the footpaths that's leading from Carter's Cross, they noticed it had all been cleared. Well, several residents had been reporting it, but nothing was getting done. And then it just worked out, and after I'd done a little post to say thank you online, because I thought we need to shout about that. I knew it wasn't going to be like the highways or anybody that would have cleared that, because they're not quick when it comes to getting things done. So I knew really that it was going to be a resident. So I just popped in the council's contacts, asked everybody if they'd be all right with us putting a little announcement online just to say thank you to the person who cleared the overgrown footpath. So it was quite nice to just put that out there, because a resident quietly, they went out and they cleared the overgrown footpath, and they didn't do no announcements, they weren't looking for any praise, and they just saw a problem and they sorted it. And the difference when we've got community members doing different things like that, the difference is just amazing, because that footpath has gone from an overgrown mess to now like a clean, a safe walkway. And it's just, it's a reminder really that while all these big systems, the clunky, the slow, but a community pride, well that's really alive and well, isn't it? And it just highlights the people living here. So not just the authorities, but the people living here. They make the biggest difference in a community. And you always need that difference, that it shouldn't have to come down to the community doing all of these things and the community's having an input. But when you're being let down by other systems and matters aren't getting dealt with, sometimes you do have to take it into your own hands, and you do have to take part and volunteer and put some effort in your community, because that's how your community gets to how like Upton and Checkley parishes. So then there was another little bit of a win. A lot of the people I know, I put it out on our Checkley Parish community group, that back in March we'd had some good news. There was a press piece online that gave official confirmation that we're going to be having a crossing on New Road. Now, this hasn't happened overnight. The talks about the safety on New Road, they've been bubbling away for a while really, but things were moving. We kept being told dates that they were going to get done. We kept being told they were on a list, but we couldn't be told what list they were on. And back in September 2023, I wasn't officially invited to this, but I spotted a county councillor and a survey team on the high street, and they were walking up to New Road. So me being me, I just introduced myself, said hello to Mark, the county councillor, and the county councillor introduced me to all of the survey team that were there, the highways team, and I just said, oh, I'll tag along if that's all right. Because, you know, when you have more people helping to make those decisions, especially when you know the area, it needs to be those people that help make those decisions and put in some notices and some information towards getting these different things improved. So I tagged along with this little walkabout, and we had a walk about the village and discussed the different junctions. We discussed the issues with the parking, we discussed issues with obviously the amount of traffic that we've got going through the village now. And we talked about how dangerous it was trying to get across New Road, because it really isn't safe. I mean, I don't use the crossing at the bottom, and I don't know many residents that do. I walk all the way up to just by the public toilets, and I cross there instead, because I've got a wider view of what's coming up, and I've got a bigger gap that I can get across the road then. But the crossing at the bottom of the road is too dangerous. So this crossing is desperate, but it's taken us years years to finally get to a point where we're being told that, yes, we will get a crossing now. Because we need it. There's the speed of the traffic in the village. I mean, it sounds like a racetrack at times. So there's proper dangers there, and it's too difficult for families and for the elderly and just even me. So I'm quite glad, after a lot of nudging, a lot of follow-ups, all the Beyond The Noticeboard work where they have meetings with the highways people consistently, that we're finally seeing that something's going to be happening, that they're following up now, and that there's a plan. And that's quite a happy moment for us. That's a good thing for our community, but it's a lot of frustration, and it takes so long, and it really, really does take too long for us. And there's no explanation. There really isn't. So while I'm on about frustrations, so of course, when we've got repairs always go wrong. Not everything's going to go smoothly. I mean, some of the repair work I've seen locally, honestly, it's been so shocking. On Parkland's estate, we had a big section of the road that's been redone, resurfaced, but I haven't got a clue what the two people who were doing it were doing, or what planet they were on, or what, because the mess they have made of that road now. I mean, they've not even sealed it in with the rest of the road. They've gone partly over drains and over covers. So when it comes for those drains needing to be cleaned out, taken out, and those covers to be removed, they're going to have a bit of a pain in the backside at the end of the day. But it's just the shoddiness of the repair. It's just one big patch up, but a kid could have done a better job. It was terrible. But then, in a matter of weeks, it will be broken up again, and then the road will look even worse than before. But it does already look worse than before. And then, like, the pavement repairs that they've done nearby as well, they've done it around a grid cover on the footpath, but they've done it so it goes up, so none of it's level, so it's uneven, and they've not sealed it in with the surrounding, and it's just a hazard waiting to happen, really. And it's not just frustrating, it's dangerous. And then when you think, really, when these repairs are bodged, it's the taxpayers' money that's being wasted. So that money could have been spent properly fixing something, not then having to go out and redo a rush job, because it is disheartening when you know how much effort goes into reporting and chasing a repair. So then only see when they do it, they do it that badly that they're going to have to you have to start that report all over again. So you then have to log new reports to say, well, you say you've been out and repaired, but look at the type of repair that you've done. Is that bad? So, like, when residents say to me, why aren't things fixed properly the first time? Honestly, I ask the same thing, because surely that's a waste of our money, the taxpayers' money that everybody pays. What a waste of money that is, doing such a bodged job repair in the first place that you're going to have to come out and do another repair again. But, like, reporting the fault and all that work, that's just a start, because most people don't see all the chasing that has to happen afterwards, because if you just log a report and walk away, there's a good chance that it'll just sit there in the system and there'll be no action. So when you're doing all these reports and you're doing all these little things, it becomes quite a big part of your job. So you'll be emailing highways, you'll be sending reminders, you'll be phoning, you'll raise it again at parish council meetings, because each parish council meeting we all raise highways issues, because we have a highways section. So that just shows how bad the highways are and how dodgy all these repairs are and how frustrating it is that the parish council has actually got a section on their parish council meeting every month where they can raise these issues. But sometimes even we have to involve the councillor to escalate things high, but sometimes that doesn't even get us anywhere. And then you have to keep checking. Is the job logged? Has it been assigned? Is someone inspecting it? Is there a date for repairs? Where does it fall on the repairs? What category is it? And then has it been closed about anything actually being done? And it's all time consuming, it's frustrating, it's repetitive. But unfortunately, if we want real action, we have to do all of that time consuming, frustrating and repetitive things, because without that beyond the notice board effort, too many issues, unfortunately, they'll just get forgotten about. So no matter how frustrated we get, we have to do what we do. So there's just so many days when it feels like an uphill battle, and when you question whether is all that endless chasing that I'm doing making any difference. But then sometimes you get a small win, and then that reminds you why you keep going. So you'll get a footpath that gets cleared, or a drain will finally get unblocked, and then that section of the road stops flooding every time it rains. And so you send a message to all the councils and go, "Oh, look, see, I told you there was a drain underneath all of that soil," even though it was denied on my first report. And that is exactly what I'm on about how frustrating and annoying it can get. So I can report a drain, and I know there's a drain there, and it'll have been covered in soot and like everything, soil, leaves, gravel, absolutely everything. And you won't be able to see the drain properly. And I'll log it and I'll report it, and I'll give them the exact location. So I give them a what 3 words location, and then normally in the little tag, there's like a comment section. I normally put a detail of exactly where it's located. So say if I was reporting something at Greatwood Community Hall at the bottom of the driveway, I'd say this is located on the Hollington Road, Vicarage Road junction. It is located at the very bottom of the Greatwood Hall driveway, to the left of the public footpath that runs up the side next to. And I log it that way so that I'm giving them a proper description, because the amount of times when I've logged things in the past and they've not followed a simple instruction, or they've not understood exactly where that is, because even though picking things up on the map, it doesn't always pick the right location. So I still put in the comments now all of the different information for that specific area where that problem is, and that's like all the background notice board work that I talk about. So it's all the stuff that no one's really noticing, and I can understand why everybody doesn't report all the issues, because it's really draining. And it's a lot of work, really. But small wins do matter, and when we do finally get something done, they aren't glamorous victories, but they do make a difference to different people's lives. So it's like those quiet wins, the ones that we don't really notice unless they go wrong. That's all the beyond the notice board work that everybody does and that everybody partakes in, because we all have to put quite a lot of effort in the background on what we have to do and what we have to report and where we have to report it. But I would like to see a better reporting system. I know they've changed it once, but it's not improved the reporting system at all. So it's just really frustrating, because you need that reporting system for all of these issues to be really simple, because then you don't have to have a councillor like myself spending half of the morning logging all of the reports that are sent to them, all of the pictures that have been sent to them by like the community members. I wouldn't have to report them in the way that I do, because then those people would be able to report them themselves. So it would be a lot easier if it was a better system. But we still need you to try and get involved. So if you do spot a pothole, or you spot a blocked drain, or a footpath that's broken, report it if you can. Or if you are finding the system is too confusing, then you get in touch with one of your local councillors. So whether that's me or a fellow councillor, we will help. I mean, you can even reach out to the clerk, and the clerk even reports different highways issues for us too, because every report that we put in, it all counts, because it's showing that there's an issue in our area, and it's highlighting that there's those issues that need dealing with, there's those blocked drains that need clearing, because it's putting a bit of pressure on those systems and saying, look, we're not going to be ignored. These issues need dealing with. We're going to report them. We're going to put in as much detail as we can in that report, and we'll keep reporting until something's done, because all of our little action, that'll make a big difference. And so it's that constant, that steady effort that keeps all of our villages moving forward. So even if you don't always see it on the notice board, it is going on beyond the notice board, and everyone is putting in their bit. And yeah, so if you see any issues, please do log it. You can download the My Staffs app, and then you'll be able to report everything through there. You have to create an account to get it all set up above board. If you don't want to have to go through with the account, just reach out to me or reach out to one of my other councillors, and we'll log some of the issues for you in the area. So I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Beyond the Notice Board. If you are enjoying these real honest conversations about what's keeping our communities ticking, please do subscribe and share my podcast with anyone you think might enjoy it. So I'll see you next time, where I'll be sharing more everyday stories from our village live. So thank you. Bye.